What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. I'm Warren Thompson, and today we have a lot of new DC news to go over. Some of it is a little bit controversial, and some of it is really, really big. Now, you might have heard recently that Warner Brothers executives were okay with keeping Ezra Miller on board, even after everything that's kind of happened with him. Well, today we have a little bit more clarity on that, which we're about to dive into, but we also have a little bit of an update about DC and its future, when to expect a full release of its movie slate coming up, and kind of what to expect from it. If you've been following the channel for a bit, you know that I think DC is about to make a really big comeback with James Gunn and Peter Safran in charge now. And here's kind of the biggest thing that you need to know about DC Studios and Warner Brothers Discovery right now. And that is, yes, James Gunn and Peter Safran are rebooting the DCEU, which it's no longer called anymore. It is officially called the DCU. James and Peter have a vision. They have a vision of what they want for the next 10 years. Now, I'm sure a lot of people at DC had this before, but here was the problem. Warner Brothers and executives would interfere. And the problem with this is when executives get involved, they're not always the biggest fans, and they're not always focused on making the best content, and of course, continuity in the universe. Now, many DCU fans have noted that studio interference is kind of what derailed the previous attempt at the DCEU and kind of made it really messy, and is basically what made it unsuccessful. One fan stated this online, and James Gunn replied to him. The person stated, "As long as the studio doesn't override you and your directors at every turn, I for one have confidence that you'll actually be making decisions for the DCU that I can get on board with." In my opinion, worth exactly nothing, it was studio interference that derailed the previous attempt at a DCU. It wouldn't surprise me to learn that Mr. Johns was quite frustrated. This was posted on Mastodon, in which James Gunn replied, "The position is different than it was with Zack, etc. Peter and I are the heads of DC Studios. The only studio interference would be from us." So basically, there's a new structure over at Warner Brothers Discovery. They now have an official DC Studios in which Peter and James are the heads of. So basically, they have final say in everything. And the reason that's so great is because James and Peter are the ones solely creating the future for the DCU. They are road mapping everything right now, and they have created what they call the DC Bible. And what's really awesome is that James Gunn has recently said on Twitter that he has mapped out the next 8 to 10 years of the DCU, in which he also revealed that they're going to be revealing some of that this month. Now, I'm assuming that they're going to go in phases as well, like Marvel Studios does. After all, James Gunn has worked very closely with Marvel for many, many years now with the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, and I think he's going to bring a lot of what he learned from Marvel Studios over to the DCU. So, of course, we would not expect him and Peter to release the entire 8 to 10 year plan for DC. What we should expect this month, however, is probably the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 years of the DCU's future to be revealed, in which we know a little bit about. We know that we can expect to see Superman and Wonder Woman within the first 3 years of the DCU. However, of course, like most people know, we are not going to be seeing Henry Cavill's Superman. It also looks like we will not be seeing Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman either. Now, yesterday, Variety came out with a report stating that Wonder Woman will not be in the first 3 years of the new DCU, in which James Gunn has actually debunked. So it is confirmed that we will see Wonder Woman in the DCU in the next 3 years, and she most likely isn't going to be played by Gal Gadot. And here's the reason why, and here's what to expect from the first 1 to 3 years of the DCU. Yes, a reboot. Not entirely, of course. I'm assuming characters like Peacemaker are going to remain, but as far as the Justice League is concerned, yeah, pretty much an entire reboot. James Gunn stated that the reason that Henry Cavill isn't going to be playing Superman in the DCU is because they're going to do a Superman project where Superman is much younger. So that pretty much tells you a lot about the plan right there. They're going to start the Justice League from scratch with younger characters, which is a great move. We're going to start off with these characters. They're going to be introduced to us when they're young. We'll see their origins, I'm sure, see what they do in their youth, and of course, over the next 8 to 10 years, they'll grow up, their stories will progress, they'll come together as the Justice League, and pretty much the storytelling and the cinematic universe will be very in sync and have a lot of continuity, which the old DCU did not have, and is pretty much the main reason that it failed. Now, speaking of a DCU Justice League reboot, a lot of people have been talking about Ezra Miller lately. This is due to a report coming from Variety. They say that some Warner Brothers executives are open to the idea of keeping Ezra Miller as the Flash. And yes, they are talking about keeping him after the Flash releases on June 16th of this year, 2023. Now, this has a lot of people up in commotion right now because Ezra has gotten into quite a bit of trouble recently. And the reason that it's very controversial is because when Johnny Depp got into a little bit of trouble, they fired him right away. And then Johnny even went on to win the trial against Amber Heard, but he still hasn't been brought back, and Amber Heard wasn't fired from Aquaman 2. So this is why it's very controversial of DC. However, when James Gunn debunked the rumor about Wonder Woman not appearing in the first 3 years of the DCU, stating that she would be, he also claimed that he didn't know what the report about Ezra Miller was about. Also, keep in mind what he said before. Him and Peter are in charge of DC Studios. The executives over at Warner Brothers Discovery don't really and can't interfere with his decision making. So if he doesn't want Ezra Miller to come back as the Flash, Ezra's gone, and that seems to be the case as James Gunn is doing a Justice League reboot. And even insider Daniel RPK recently said this on Twitter. Here's the thing. They said executives have no problem keeping Ezra. That's their mistake. Those executives don't matter. Only Gunn and Safran. Those same executives wanted Henry Cavill to come back and play Superman again. We saw how that turned out. And that's 100% correct. For a really, really long time, Dwayne Johnson fought for Henry Cavill to come back as Superman. And then when the change came at Warner Brothers Discovery and there was new people in charge, the new people in charge did agree with Dwayne and let Henry Cavill come back as Superman. We saw this in Black Adam. However, that was before James Gunn and Peter came in and became in charge of DC Studios. Once they became in charge, they changed everything. And now, Superman is not back. Henry Cavill won't be playing Superman, at least not anytime soon. So despite whatever the executives want, the great thing is it comes down to what James and Peter want. And I think that that is truly what's going to make this DCU different from the DCEU. Peter and James are true fans. They know the source material, and the best thing is they have great proven track records as filmmakers, as directors, as writers. So I do have faith in them. Also, they never said that Henry Cavill won't be back as Superman. They never said that Gal Gadot won't be back as Wonder Woman. It's just not in their immediate plans because, like I mentioned, they are going to start with younger versions of these characters. However, when they grow up, you never know what can happen. Plus, not to mention, they are probably going to introduce the multiverse at one point in time. And when this happens, it's going to be a great opportunity for all of these characters to return. And it'll be really cool when it does happen. A new Superman meeting with Henry Cavill, a new Batman meeting with Ben Affleck. Not sure if the new Flash will meet with Ezra Miller. We'll have to wait and see on that. And it sounds like it's pretty much confirmed that Jason Momoa is going to be playing Lobo now in the new DCU, so that would be really cool to see him meet with Jason Momoa's Aquaman. So these characters could return, although they are not going to be the main Justice League anymore. I do look forward to the day that James and Peter introduce the multiverse and we see them once again. So this month, we are about to hear from DC. We're about to hear the first 2 to 3 years of what they have in store for us with their movie slate. Also shows, of course, and video games. James Gunn did say that some video games are going to be canonically connected. And we're about to see all of this really, really soon. And I'm really excited, but let us know how excited you are about this in the comments down below. Also, if you have any concerns about the DCU, let us know down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all things relating to the DCU. For live updates, you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.